As ambassadors of Christ, how do we maintain a good reputation and yet do what Jesus did and dine with sinners and dine with what people view as the worst of the worst? Welcome to the 167.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
Hey everyone, welcome back to the 167. I'm Pastor Lucas Motley of New Life Community Church, and if you're listening for us for the very first time, this is our senior pastor, Rick George,
Good morning.
and this is my wife, Carissa Motley.
Good morning.
And this morning we're going to be talking about the new series that we kicked off, Dinner with Jesus.
Yeah, we talk about food. It's
That-
always a good.
yes,
It's always a good
Food.
thing.
All right.
I mean, maybe we should have done that on Sunday, just like served a full meal to everyone that came in. Shout out Bo Gherkin.
Yep. Just have a buffet, whatever, breakfast buffet for however.
I do want to do a quick shout out because many people don't see what happens behind the scenes, and our own Brent Richardson, he actually edits the podcast and helps us out with a lot of the editing and backstage things.
Which is why you may have noticed it got better lately.
Thanks.
He has time to do that.
oh, yeah.
He does.
He's great.
He's very creative.
He's
and
not better. He just has more time.
No, he's
Or
better.
he's better.
He's
So
better.
you're giving him a shout out. Let's
He's-
he's doing
Yeah.
great.
He's
we
taking
want,
it
we
to the
want
next
people
level.
to notice.
And today he had his daughter was born.
Congratulations to Brenton Taylor Richardson.
Yes, yay.
So at 5:40 this morning. So
Woo!
I will be editing the podcast this week because he's going to be there at the
Slackered.
hospital. So
Slacker.
if you're watching this on YouTube, good luck to you. So
That sounds ominous.
we'll
I don't
see how
know
it
what
goes.
what are you going to do?
I don't know. I've been out of practice.
But thank you, Brent, for all that you do.
Absolutely. So when we're talking about having dinner with Jesus, I thought we'd kick it off. You challenged us, and you yourself invited people over to your house for dinner. You challenged the rest of us to do the same this summer. So if you are inviting couples, if you're inviting company over, what is your go-to meal that you serve them? Is there like a, hey, this is easy for me to fix for a group of people, or is it more like I need to put on my fancy pants and impress these people?
What do you?
I want to know what you think you make for company.
What? Why do we have to do this right away? Well, it depends on the vibe. If we're inviting people over when they have kids, usually we cook out, and so
true.
usually I'm on the grill.
That's what I was gonna say. It's usually seasonal for us. If it's warm-ish weather, yes. Lucas is excellent at cooking chicken, grilled chicken.
Pork chops.
He's
And pork
excellent at it. So we often grill chicken, and then my go-to side with when we grill is cheesy potatoes because I can do that in crock pot.
Yeah.
It's a crowd pleaser, but no onions in my cheesy potato casserole.
That's-
I
It's a
hate,
shame.
I hate onions. I hate them.
Okay.
Hate them. So we do
So
maybe
do you like onions?
veggies and
She has strong feelings about onions. You can tell
I
because
do.
she cries when she cuts them.
Yes.
But
oh no.
no, I love if I had my way, I would serve pork chops. Like I can make a pork chop that is juicy on the inside and fully done
Yeah.
and has great grill marks.
Good.
It
There you go.
is quite impressive.
And what
I
are you
will
serving,
say.
Pastor Rick?
Whatever Trudy fixes. Our go-to. So we, when we have people over, it's anywhere from generally 8 or 10
Yeah.
to 15 or 20. So it depends on
Yeah.
the number and if they're kids and that kind of thing. So we have a few main go-to. So one of them is fajitas.
Okay.
So we do fajitas in pans and just chop up everything, put it in pans, put it in the oven, all cooks together. The cooking part is pretty simple. It's a lot of prep though.
Sure.
You got to
Yep.
cut everything
Yep.
certain. So, but that's a good one.
Are there onions in it?
Yes, there are onions.
We can't come.
We have a go-to for sliders.
Oh yeah.
So just the Hawaiian rolls, and you cut them, and so we do sliders. That's a good one.
That's a good one, especially if they're bringing kids.
Yeah, taco salad. It covers a lot of people. Like so,
That's true.
it's a lot of prep time, cutting, preparing. But once it's done, you put it out. Then everybody can kind of get what they want, And
That makes
and
sense.
so, and then occasionally we'll do pasta, some kind of a pasta, baked ziti, because it'll, again, it's
Everybody
simple.
loves pasta.
Yep, and you can dip it up. It's a comfort food.
Yes,
It's
it is.
Yeah, so
For sure.
those are kind
It's
of
a
the
good one.
4 go-tos.
So if you signed up to come eat dinner at Pastor Rick's house, high chance you're getting one
Get
of those.
one of those 4.
4
I know what
things.
they're getting. I'm just not going to tell you what it is right now.
I just remember being at your house and for the first time being introduced to Vidalia onion dressing.
Dressing. Oh, that's,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Sweet Vidalia onion. That's our
Change your
go-to.
life.
Yeah,
Change your
that's-
life, Lucas.
It's not like In and Out changed my life.
No, but it's just just below that, you know.
Close. Runner up.
So we were talking about, when Jesus dines with people, we talked about Matthew, who's also known as Levi, and how he invites all his friends over to meet Jesus after he's called. And people are like, they're talking about Jesus. I can't believe he eats with these people. These people are scum. And so there seems to be this focus. And I think a lot of times, especially in pop culture right now, it is that focus of you have to accept everybody. You have to, dine with these people, even if it hurts your reputation. And there's always kind of that side of the argument of we need to be associating with sinners, even if people start to associate us with them. And then there's the other side of the argument, which there are lots of scriptures about, being ambassadors of Christ and being above reproach and not even, doing something that would imply that you are sinning. And so you have those two things. How do we mesh those things together as Christ followers? How have you guys seen that done well?
So in my mind, it's one thing to have dinner, hang out, get to know somebody, and be an influence in their life, as opposed to having dinner, hanging out with people, and then them being an influence in your life.
Sure.
So I would say that balance for me, just my opinion, is when the balance starts to shift, that they are having more of an influence on your behavior, your beliefs, your actions than you are in their life, then there's probably a problem there. You shouldn't
Sure.
be hanging out with them as much. And so like Jesus wanted to know them. He genuinely cared about them. I'm going to dig a little deeper into that this week. That he did have a genuine care for people, yet there were boundaries.
Right.
Like, just an interesting side note. I don't know what it really means, but in my study on these times when he ate with people, there's only a handful of times that we know about, maybe 7, 8 different. I mean, that's a hand with 8 fingers. It's a weird, now that I say a handful, 2 handfuls of times. And so
My
it's
name
not,
is Domingo Montoya.
yeah.
No.
So it's not like it's just every page is filled with times when Jesus ate with people. But when I looked at those numbers of times, and then I thought, well, it's interesting. I wonder what the rest of Jesus' life was. And again, this isn't rocket science, but it's just not something that I spent a lot of time previous to this thinking about. But of the 33 years of Jesus' life, and then the 3.5 years of his active ministry, the whole New Testament tells us about 30 to 50 of his days.
Yeah.
There's only about 30 days. Some people say maybe, some scholars try to make it 52 because it fits nicely into numerology and stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but somewhere in
Yeah.
that 30 to 50 days. So what about
They're actually
the other hundreds of days of Jesus? Well, he ate with people and he did Jesus things and people things.
Is it Matthew that says there are so many things we couldn't possibly record?
Yeah, it
them?
couldn't fit in all the pages. I think it's at the end of John,
John,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. Where it says there, there's not a library that could contain all of the
Right.
and so but what that tells me is the times that we do hear about him eating, well, those are special times. Those are like, this was a memorable time, and we've all had memorable dinners. Some for good reasons, some for bad
like-
reasons.
I'm
but
just picturing it where it's like just this like food blog of Jesus, like, and today
Yeah.
he had bread.
so all that to say that Jesus cares about people.
Yeah.
and he obviously cares about eating. And when you put those two things together, good
So
thing,
here's
good
a
thing.
side question. You're saying you're doing your research on this. Are the stories that we see? I'm trying to think through them. Are they all Jesus being invited into someone else's home, or does he? When does Jesus cook, guys?
Sometimes he invites
does Jesus
himself
cook?
over.
Well,
Or he's
so-
he's like, hey, can I come to your house
Yeah,
today?
that is, that he invites himself. It's biblical. So if I say, hey, can I come to your house? Just trying to be
Man,
like
we're
Jesus.
trying to coach our kids not to do that.
But Jesus does cook a breakfast for the disciples.
disciples,
when
okay.
So
Yeah,
he's,
that's right.
So
Yep.
he's out there
Yep.
on the grill, you know.
But maybe that's why, because it said that some still doubted whether that was him or not. Maybe they were like, "Why Jesus cooks? Why?
Yeah.
Where did he learn how to do this?"
Why did I not know this? That's because he
All
was
the
always
times.
coming to your house.
He was always eating everybody else's
Yeah.
food.
I don't know
So-
about this.
Yeah, there are a variety of different times. So this week, spoiler alert,
Ooh,
I'm going to talk
This is
about
the
the meal.
advantage of listening
it's
to the
just a
167.
teaser. It's a teaser for this week.
So we're going to talk about the meal that he shared with 5,000 men
Oh,
and their
yeah, yeah.
families on a,
Okay.
and it's like nobody cooked. Like he just like it's a miracle.
Can you do that? Can you do Jesus feeds the 5,000 bros?
Yeah. So so anyway,
That's
there's lots of different examples.
interesting.
But anyway,
That's interesting.
No, I don't know. Like I said, I think that a lot of times it's you. Like when you said when you look at the rest of his life too, is he picked people that yes were tax collectors and stuff like that, and then he kind of like we were trying to teach this to our young adults is like he's got the 3 right, and he's got the 12, and he's got the 120. I'm gonna mess that up. 124, 122, and then but it's in he'll go to Zacchaeus' house. He'll go to the like, and so I would often caution people like when you're creating your friend group, if you're a good influence on them, that's great, right?
Yeah.
It's like, but if you are actively seeking out bad environments to be in, with people who are not going to uplift you in Christ, that's going to get dicey. And your reputation aside, like you need to have the faith that you can do to go into those encounters. And so a lot of times when I was young, I would end up in places that, maybe I shouldn't be for a few minutes, and then I'd probably end up leaving, or with people. But I usually had a close group of friends that were going to uplift me in those moments where it was like, oh, the 3 of us are going to go over to this house. The 3 of us are going to embrace this new person into our group, and we're going to influence them rather than, like I'm going to go into a group of 12 people that do not believe what I believe and let them.
yeah. And so this might be a shocker. I am not a hardcore biker.
What?
I know.
What?
I know.
The
I
tattoos
just,
and the leather vest. I feel lied to.
disappointed a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
But I do love riding a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I have connections with people who would be more hardcore bikers. It gives us a place of common interest and we have conversations. I welcome them into my life. They have welcomed me on occasion into their life, and there's a bond, but I don't enter into their world to try to become who they are or let them influence me.
Right.
I enter into their world knowing that this is a different space, and to them it's a protected space. So I value and respect their space, and at the same time, I think they value and respect my space, and in that we find some common ground, which is what I think you see at this table.
Right.
It's, hey, I know that you're a prophet, that you're this, miracle worker or something, and we're scum, and somehow at a table they found some common ground. And it wasn't about being a prophet, and it wasn't about being a tax collector. It was about being people
Right.
and caring for people.
Yeah, that's good.
So-
That's good.
So one of the other things that you touched on, which I thought was really great, is you talked about seeing potential where others see problems. And I think that a lot of times we find ourselves in those positions where we see somebody and we're like, man, you have so much potential. And whether they're young or just whether they're not quite getting it. And it's like, but other people are like, oh, no. that person's got a lot of, they're a tax collector, they're this, they're that, and we could see potential. And I wanted to know how you've seen that played out to people closest to you, or even in your own life. What are some challenges in those relationships where you start to identify somebody like that? Or maybe what was something that somebody spoke into your life where you realized that you were the person that had the potential and other people saw problems? What was some of the things that you feel like are key in those relationships?
So the first thing I thought of when you sent the questions, I thought about one of our daughters. So I'm trying not to use her name, but I just thought of one of our daughters who kind of in her younger years just developed a reputation for being difficult. She was difficult. And she got that reputation at school when she was in public school. She was in trouble a lot. She was just had a real hard time with authority. Let's say it that way. She had a real hard time with that at school. And
No, I don't know which one of our
and
daughters you're
it
talking
was
about.
so see good. That's great. And it was like once someone crossed her, it was like they're dead to you. Like they were dead to her. And she was like, nope, I hate that person for the rest of my life. Right. So she's grown up considerably since then. But like that was kind of her reputation, and so people just anticipated her being like that and being a problem, right? And so that kind of has like followed her, and so we've had all these conversations with her about that doesn't have to, like, that's not you, right? And so like the potential that we see in you is you have the capacity for all of these things, right? Don't let this problem, like you've established these patterns that people see as a problem, but like what if we rewrite that, right? Like let's rewrite that script, because this doesn't have to be all of who you are, that people see you just this one way.
And I'm, as well as you too, I'm guessing, but I'm thankful for the people who didn't just see me like I was in that moment,
right?
Who could see that, oh, you have that potential. Because oftentimes I don't see the potential in me. I see the problems. I live with me.
Yeah.
Right? So
I know me.
Yeah. So I know me. You don't know me. And so when somebody does see something in you that maybe you can't see in yourself, it is encouraging.
Right.
It is a blessing, and it inspires some people, not everyone, but it inspires some people to live up to the potential that somebody else sees in them. And so as a leader, or someone, I think everyone's a leader, but when you're looking at someone and saying, like, I'm a leader for them, and when you speak into their life and help them see that potential, it's powerful,
Right.
or can be powerful in their life. And so Jesus was, again, a master at this. Seemed like he was good at a lot of things.
How weird.
I know.
It's
Isn't
so
that
weird that he was good at that.
Don't you just want to find one thing, though?
Yeah.
Like he's not good at cards.
It's he could just see beyond. Okay, yes, you are a horrible person right now, and nobody likes you, but I can see beyond that.
Right.
And when I said I struggle with that, I don't think I'm unusual in that. It's when you see somebody that's I know you're trying to scam me. I know that you're a crook. I know that you're a bad person. It's hard to then see past that and say, hey, I want to invest in you.
Yeah.
Like, it's easier to invest in the people who are already kind of cleaned up, and they're like, hey, help me. And you're like, sure, I can. But to see the rotten scoundrel and to see the potential, that's where I struggle most.
Well, and it's a long game. Like, that's kind of the thing. I feel like it's really discouraging when you invest in somebody, and sometimes, what you're just looking for is teachability, right? And so you go in there, and then like they'll relapse into a bad habit. They'll do something again that you're like, man, I thought we were past this. And it's hard to keep in that relationship for the relationship's sake, even if you're not seeing movement, even if you're not seeing those things. And I, like I said, I do think it's hard to turn around a reputation, but I think that when you see the potential in somebody, it's so hard to, I think, pace yourself well. And one of the challenges that I ran into is, this might sound, I might say this wrong, is that it's really good to see that in people. Sometimes I try and do that to too many people at the same time. Like if you're discipling too many people at the same time and they're in those situations, a lot of times you can't give it the focus that you want, or, like you're just kind of, you're shotgunning it. And it's much better to have, like I said, kind of that one-on-one time, those I see and you conversations. And so it gets, I think there's a certain, like Jesus with 3:12, like I'm like, at some point it starts to dilute your influence in that person's life.
Yeah.
And you can't be there when they really need you to be.
Well, and I also think that, like, you're asking what are the challenges when you're trying to see potential in people rather than just problems. And I think one of the challenges is that they are probably not going to live up to your expectations all the time, right? No one's going to live up to your expectations all the time. And so that can feel, just again, like raising teenagers, like that can feel really discouraging and really disheartening. Like, like you said, we talked about this. I thought we were past this. And then you have this, like, again, that dip back into some old behaviors. And you're like, it's the course correction again, which, like, bringing her back into this is who we see you as, right? Like, it's not this, it's this.
Yeah. And that's one of the signs of good parenting is when you can see beyond the action.
Right now, yeah.
And you can speak into their future and help them achieve that. It's not the thing of parenting, but it is a sign of, hey, good parents are able to say, okay, you are very stubborn right now. You are hard-headed and you're not listening. I can see where that's going to come into your benefit down the road.
Yeah.
So how do I take that and help you grow into something that's of benefit?
Yeah.
So that's what parenting is about.
Yeah.
And then you get to watch them go off and hopefully walk into the future that you tried to help them see when they were just being stubborn. You're like, no, you're going to be the one who can stand firm.
That's right. That's what that, that's what that can be. I think Pastor Rick just said we're doing okay.
Yeah.
as parents.
You're probably not in our house. No, it's good. And like I said, I think that's a good thing is to redirect. It's easier, I think, to teach somebody what the right thing to do is than to teach them the millions of things that are wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, and we get that a lot at churches. Well, is this a sin? Is this a sin? And I'm going, I don't know, but this is the way that you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And everything else, I don't even want to have that conversation. And so when we kind of related to that same topic, you talked about connection versus correction. And oftentimes you say that words, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes what we're lacking when we're saying, like, why can't this person get it together? Like, you might see the potential in somebody and say, I don't know why their life is such a mess. A lot of times the answer to that is nobody has cared enough to teach them. And I think that you even see that with people where I was joking with the youth. We were talking about something else, and I was preaching recently, and I made the comment that I was like, oh yeah, sometimes people are so good looking they never receive accountability. It's just like, I always talk about it in the sense of dating. I was like, oh, I dated this girl and she was kind of crazy. Not Carissa.
It was not me.
But you are also beautiful. But like this girl,
Just not crazy.
And not crazy. I feel like, can you just
Quit digging.
Okay, back to your point. Make your point.
I don't know if I want to now. Anyway, no, it was like in high school and college. Often, I just made a flippant comment that was just like, yeah, sometimes people are pretty and popular, and so they don't receive accountability, and so because nobody will stand up to them, and so then they go most of their lives with these terrible habits, and they don't even know that it's bad because no one will even say anything to them, and sometimes people, I think of even people in my own life where it's like sometimes you're just like, I can't believe that you believe this, and it's like, but no one will say anything because it's risk of being rude and things like that.
Yeah.
And so you can't actually receive correction because it's just criticism at that point.
Yeah. So I live by the principle of you earn the right to speak into someone's life. I don't know if it's viewed by everyone that way or if it's even accurate. It's just what I believe is that I can't just walk up to somebody that I don't know and that I don't have some relationship with and start correcting them, telling them what they're doing is wrong. Like
the Pharisees disagree with you.
Yeah. So that's not my my job. But when I know you, and now I've earned the right, you've invited me in, and I can speak into those areas out of relationship. Again, I think that's what the table represents.
Do you think that that becomes our responsibility in that moment? 'Cause you're
Yes.
saying that you earn the right, but is it your
Yes.
responsibility?
So, the whole thing in culture now is you can't judge me, and you
Only God can judge.
yeah,
me.
only God can judge. So for unbelievers, so I haven't earned that right. We're not in a relationship. You don't know Jesus. We don't know each other. So you are right. It's not my place to judge you. But Scripture does say very clearly that it is our responsibility to judge other believers, to speak into their life, to point out areas of sin. And so the table, when we share a meal, is the beginning point. So it provides the relational aspect where I get to know you. Behind that face, there's a story. Now I know the story. I know the brokenness. I know the whatever. And now from that relationship, I can say, hey, here are some things that you need to work on. Then the correction begins. You can't, I shouldn't say you can't. It's less
Shouldn't?
effective. Yeah. It's less effective to jump straight to the correction
Right.
when you don't have the connection.
Yeah.
But when you have a
Yeah.
connection, then it makes the correction more easily accessed.
Yeah.
So anyway,
No,
so
that
that's
makes sense.
And other things that you guys can think of that help make those awkward correction conversations, to help you in that conversation for like our listeners, or scriptures that you're like, oh yeah, this is what the Bible's telling you how to conduct that. Can you guys remember any of those or have tips?
Well, I think too, like even there where you just said it is our job to judge other believers, I think a lot of people would be like, oh, judge, like that's such a, I don't like the word judge.
Yeah.
But even like, I think there's this tension between let's not soften our language too much, but also let's understand what judge really means.
You're right.
Right? Like you
Yep.
just had a great explanation of that. And it's not sitting in judgment, right? We're not sitting in judgment. It's to say, hey, like, again, what we're doing with our kids is you're over here and you should be over here. So how do I bring you back into that, in a loving way? And so that is, I think, an important thing. Like you had all those, I just pulled up the notes from Sunday again, because Pastor Rick, you basically said that like 3 different ways. Like you said, Jesus uses meals to build relationships and not walls. Like it's really hard when you're sitting at a table with someone, to not feel connected to them.
Yeah.
Right? If they've invited you for a meal, that feels significant. Like
It's intimate.
especially in your home. That is just a thing I noticed, like culturally, we as a culture, it's more like let's go out in public or let's meet up somewhere versus come over to my home, let's be in a space together that's more personal. So I think that does, like you said, invite that more intimate setting. But you also said, Jesus offers friendship, not just a sermon, and he doesn't just preach at people, right? So he's not just, you should do this and you should do that and you should, like there's always this sense of Jesus is trying to connect with people where they're at.
absolutely. And the key word that you just used is just. Did Jesus preach sermons? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did he correct them? Yes. Was he pretty harsh at times?
Yep.
Yes. It's not all that he did.
Right.
Like it's, let's sit down.
Right.
Let me know you. You get to know me. Now
Yeah.
you're going to receive what I have to say.
Right.
Some, like
Right.
other people just rejected
Well,
it.
and it's,
like,
the people he was the most harsh with were the religious leaders,
Yeah.
right? He was the meanest. He was
people
the
that should
most
know
harsh
better.
with the religious leaders. Like you said, with other believers, we are supposed to engage in that. Like we are supposed to be able to correct each other and call that out. And that's what Jesus modeled, right? Like the Pharisees were the ones he came after the hardest because they should have known.
Yeah,
Right?
so-
They were supposed to know.
so without names or whatever, but we had some folks to our home for dinner and we got to know them and we were just having a great time, and I got to know a little more about their story, and it wasn't like we were there preaching at them. I hadn't said anything about their past or anything, but there came a moment when one of them said, well, it's why I believe in reincarnation, because I believe that you come back. I'm like, okay, stop, hold on.
Wait a
Um,
minute.
Yeah, I said, I'm gonna have to interject here. So there came a point where
Yeah.
at the table, I couldn't just let that go. It was
Yeah.
so out there, like it was an egregious. It just like nope. This is a time. Now I have to step in
Right, sure.
and have some correction.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the entirety of the meal, but it was a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went on about it. But I said, I can't. No, let's stop. That is
Yeah.
not
Like,
accurate.
oh, read me that scripture.
Yeah. And so it's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't ever share any of my beliefs. No, you can, but it's not just that.
Right. And I think
So-
the way that you do that matters a lot to people,
absolutely.
right? Like if you can
Absolutely.
do it, what is it Paul says? Is it Paul maybe?
That's a good
with,
guess.
With gentleness and respect, right? Like it's that phrase like with gentleness and respect, not in a hypercritical like, "Oh, you're wrong." Like let me just tell you why you're wrong. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be wrong.
And so there are, like, God can use lots of different ways and people. The person who stands on the corner with a megaphone and a sign, not what I think is the most effective
Right,
means of
right.
reaching people, but people have been changed because of that. People have been turned away.
Yeah.
And so it's not like I have to do it a certain way. There's just ways that I think are a little more
Yeah.
conducive to seeing actual life change. And Jesus models this. It
Right.
says, hey, let's just not build some walls right now.
Yeah.
Like we're different. We
Right.
understand that. Let's get to some common ground, and then we can address some of the other things.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I also think, I mean, kind of circling back, is that's why I feel like when you're not in those moments, your reputation is so important, and the way that you've established yourselves, and even the way that you conduct yourselves in those environments and with those people, is so important, because I think you can be an ambassador and be in those environments. Like that's kind of as an ambassador, you are sent into a foreign country to to represent. And I just want to close with this because somebody actually asked me it on Sunday morning, so we can wrap up with this. Is just they felt a little bit guilty because they said, sometimes I feel guilty because if I'm targeting somebody for evangelism, I feel like I've turned them into a project rather than just a person. How do we kind of bridge that or guard against that of making people projects?
It ultimately comes down to your own motive, your heart in the approach. This may be a terrible example, or illustration, but
let's do it anyway.
But if I won the Mega Millions, right, and I had $400 million, and I felt like I'm going to give my kids. That's probably I wouldn't do that. No, so I want to give my kids a couple million here, a couple million there. We're gonna and then I'm like, but I want to take 5 million of it, and I want to give $1 million to 5 people that I kind of know, but I don't really know them. And so I'm just going to have dinner with them and get to know them before I tell them why. I just want to get to know them, and then I'll share with them that, oh, hey, good news.
I'm going to give you $1 million.
Yeah, now that I know you, I want to give you this $1 million.
Yeah.
Nobody would say, whoa, man, you were targeting them it was a bait and switch.
Yeah.
No, it was, I know about you. I just want to know you more. And then in the process, yes, I want to share what I have with you. And what I share with you is going to change your life and your eternity. It's it's more valuable than $1 million. But if it's because I'm sharing Jesus, well, now you're targeting them. If you're going to give them $1 million, no, you cared about them. And I think it's the approach and the perception, and I don't think it's something you should be overly concerned about unless you're just like, I don't care about the people. I'm just trying to, rack up numbers and whatever. It's like, then it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, we don't think that about our children. We don't think that about, a student that comes to us as a coach. We're not like, well, he's like, that is our job, is to coach and to do that.
Yeah.
But I think about when I was a kid, I moved when I was 10, and I went to live in Plano, and there were like 4 or 5 guys that I really wanted to be friends with, and they weren't even friends together at the time. And so there was like 2 of them here and 2 of them there. And so very slowly, like, I started to get to know them, but none of them were really Christ followers. Like the couple of them, like, they went to their Baptist church with their parents, and very slowly through our, junior high and college, or junior high and high school years, they all started to kind of come to my church and they converted. And it was just one of those things where it's like, I think you can care about the person and also go, hey, I'd also like to help you with this.
Yeah.
Like I can teach you this. But I do think that that's like, if your goal is like, I'm going to emotionally manipulate you in order to rack up, an evangelism score, like that's not good. But I don't think because you care, like I think caring about somebody is telling them the hard thing. Like I always tell people, I'm like, if you can't say the hard thing to me, you don't know me well enough.
Yeah.
And so, like that is my ultimate form of love and care, I think, is to be able to say the hard things to people so they don't embarrass themselves or anything else.
Yeah, one of my neighbors is Catholic. I have most of my neighbors are Catholic, but the ones I had a conversation with, and they'd been going through a situation in their family, and I was aware of that, and we'd talked, and so we were just chatting one day, and I said, listen, I know that you're Catholic, and this isn't about being Catholic. You know that I'm not Catholic. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what that means to you, and I want you to know that I'm available, and you're welcome to come to our church, and I would love to have you visit, but I'm not going to force that on you. Like, I care about you.
Sure.
And so we had an open conversation about their belief and why they're Catholic, and it was fine. Will it end there? Probably not. We'll have other conversations, but it was a starting point. I put it on the table. I know you, you know me. Now let's kind of work towards what this could be.
Yeah.
And so, it doesn't have to be, I can't say anything, and now I'm going to spring it on them.
Right.
Like, ta-da, look, here's
Right.
Jesus.
Right.
And it's like,
Do you have a minute to talk about my Lord and
Let's say,
Savior
I think
Jesus Christ?
that's the, like everything we're talking about is keeping in mind for people that this, this connecting with people is a process.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't have a meal with someone one time and then you're best friends for the rest of your life, right? Like it takes time and it takes investment. And so if you're making that investment to really connect with the people, then there's no false motivation there. It's not like, but if you're just coming in and going, well, we're going to have dinner so that I can tell you some things. Ooh, like then then there's some motivation issues there. But like for the most part, like I said, the friends that we have developed those friendships over years, right? It's not like it's just been like,
and
bam.
if the first time that they're hearing that you're a Christian and a Christ follower is at dinner with you, you've probably dropped the ball somewhere
Right,
along the
ahead of
line.
time, for
just
sure, for
relationally.
sure.
So they're not surprised.
I do always like that. What do you do for a living? I'm a pastor. Well, we hope you guys stay tuned for the next 3 weeks of this series and take up that challenge to invite somebody to your house, have dinner with them, start an authentic relationship. Maybe it's somebody you're already close to on your kids' sports team, or they're a neighbor, or they're somebody at work, just somebody that you're interacting with. Have them over, kind of connect in that way, and then see where that takes you to see if it leads you to Jesus.
And we're going to learn how to feed 5,000 people.
Yes,
At one
that's
time.
a big meal.
Bros. 5,000 bros and their wives and kids.
And so, come for that, right? That sounds
absolutely.
exciting.
We hope to see you this week. Make sure you like and subscribe on the podcast. Leave us a rating. And if you are on YouTube and Apple, you can actually see our links below if you want to flip over to our website and watch the sermon on newlifegardener.com. So hope to see you there. If you enjoyed this episode of the 167, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, get notified, leave a 5-star rating and a positive review. Tell all your friends to listen as well. Make sure you go over to newlifegardener.com and check out all that we have to offer as a church, and check out our messages online as well. Thanks for listening.